Hi sis, welcome back to my channel. My name is Onyinye and today we're going to do something very different. Are you finding it difficult to be consistent and effective with your budget? What if I tell you there's a simple method you can use to build a budget that works every single time, no matter your income or expenses? Reverse budgeting is that game changing approach that will always put your priorities first. So stick around and let's see A to Z of reverse budgeting. So first of all, what is reverse budgeting and how does it differ to traditional budgeting? So reverse budgeting is just simply prioritizing your financial goals first before your expenses. While traditional budgeting is essentially putting your expenses first before your financial goals. So what are the major differences between reverse budgeting and traditional budgeting? So the focus of reverse budgeting is on your financial goals. In other words, you pay yourself before you face your expenses, right? So whether it is to build an emergency fund or you're saving for a professional exam or you're saving to buy a car, whatever it is, that's your financial goal. So reverse budgeting focuses on building funds for that financial goal before you now pay off your bills and expenses. So the second difference is the process. So like I said in the first one, your process is that you start from your financial goals and go down to your expenses. So whatever your financial goals are, you prioritize it, and then from whatever remains, that's when you expend from. Number three, reverse budgeting is very simple. Okay, it helps you simplify your budgeting, while traditional budgeting is very detailed. Like you have to keep track of every single expense you make so that you'll be able to know where your money is going. It's pretty good, but it's just that it can become cumbersome. Another difference is that your financial goals are non-negotiable. Okay, if you start with prioritizing your financial goals before your expenses, is non-negotiable, and that way you'll be able to your budget will be able to be more effective to you than if you started by you know covering your expenses before your financial goals. Also, the reverse budgeting is useful for people with clear cut financial goals. You need to know what you want. You need to have a financial goal first before you start. If you just want to keep track of your expenses and see where your money goes, traditional budgeting will be good for you. But if you have a particular financial goal that you are looking forward to, especially this new year, reverse budgeting will be very effective for you. So, what makes traditional budgeting less effective? Because I know if you are watching this video, that means you probably try to sustain a traditional budget countless times, and then you start and then you stop along the way, and then you don't really see the effects. It gets cumbersome and tiring. So, what is it about traditional budgeting that makes it less effective for you? One major thing about traditional budgeting is that it helps you track every single expense that you make, which on the surface is good, but it kind of becomes complex and, like I said, cumbersome when you have to remember every expense, write it down. It can be very tiresome, very cumbersome, and very demotivating. Also, with traditional budgeting, your financial goals and your savings become an afterthought. It's like, let me deal with my expenses first, let me deal with my bills first, and then I'll save the balance. The simple economics tells us that our needs are always, or our wants are always more than the available resources. So by the time you meet all those bills first, you'll find out that you have little or nothing left to save, little or nothing left for your financial goals. So traditional budgeting can also be unrealistic and very rigid. Okay, when you have budgeted, okay, you spend 1,000 naira for this, you spend 10,000 for this, you spend so and so for this. It's very rigid because when you calculate it like that to the T, you don't leave any room for emergencies. And with life, there'll always be emergencies, there'll always be certain things that you didn't plan for. Okay, so with your budget, it's very important for a budget to be effective. It's very important to give room for emergencies, things that might come up. Okay, and with traditional budgeting, it puts you in a box and it makes it difficult. Also, traditional budgeting can be easily thrown off by unexpected costs. Like I said, with life, you have to give room for unforeseen circumstances, you have to give room for emergencies, and emergencies can really throw off your traditional budgeting, because everything in traditional budget, everything has a place, everything has a stipulated amount. So when an emergency come, or series of emergencies, it can throw your budget totally off, and then it becomes totally ineffective. Reverse budgeting can simplify this method by shifting your focus from restriction to prioritization. Reverse budgeting helps you prioritize your goals first and build funds to service your financial goals before your expenses. Okay, so it simplifies the process. If you pay yourself first by removing a certain amount for your savings or for your goals, the remaining, the balance can be used to cover your other expenses. You can it's more flexible, it's more simple, and it's way more effective, and I'll show you how. So first of all, how do you determine your financial priority? Because like I said, we have so many needs and we have very little resources, so it's very important to be able to prioritize your financial goals so that you're going to budget for what is more important first before others. That way you'll be able to see the effect within a short period of time. So, how then do you prioritize your financial goals? I feel like the best way to prioritize your financial goals is to use a priority table. I'm going to paste that. You use a priority table where you have the top box as highly urgent and important. This box is going to be debt repayment, your emergency funds, and essential bills such as your rent, light bill, communication, things like that. They are highly urgent and they are also very important. The second box will be for low urgency and high importance. That is, these things are not urgent, but they are very important. Things like money for certification, some investments you want to make, such as certifications, trainings, professional courses. Those are not usually not urgent, but they are very important. They'll go to the second box, and then the third box will be highly urgent and low important. So what does that mean? They are urgent, you have to do them now, but they are really not important. That would be like events, weddings. It's urgent, but really it's not that important. You can opt out of it. And then the last box will be low urgency and low importance. And frankly, this one can, can wait. These are non-essential luxury items and things that they have low importance and they are not urgent. Just forget about those. Okay, just grab those. So what can be your financial goal? Your financial goal will be within these two boxes, either highly urgent and highly important, or low urgency and high importance. So within these two, you can find your the financial goal that you want to stick to. Do you have a debt you need to repay? That is highly urgent and highly important. That should be a financial priority. Do you have a certification that you have to pay for, a professional course that you're looking to complete? That is low urgency, but is also very important. That should be a financial priority. And also emergency funds, guys. Emergency funds is highly urgent and highly important. That should be one of your financial priorities, because with the way the economy is going, with the way life is going, things just come up. Things just come up, and you need to have flexibility. You need to have at least 3 to 6 months living expenses to buffer sudden things that come up, sickness, accidents, things like that that you don't plan for, but they just happen. Okay, we need to prepare for that. This table of priorities is a living document. You always have to constantly reassess your financial priority, especially when something life changing happens, like you get married, you start school, you have kids. Your priorities will definitely change, so it's not a stagnant thing. All right. Sometimes you can have short term goals, medium term, long term. For those of you that are onto the 12-week calendar, every 12 weeks you can have a new goal. Okay, depending on you, you can have a new goal. You can start small with everything that has to do, you know, will be budgeting. Is best to start small and then grow from there. So you want to start with short term goals first. See how effective your budget is. Okay, like when you are able to meet that short term objective, that short term financial goal, it will give you motivation to go for a much longer term goal. You might be asking me now, what percentage of your income should you give to your financial goals? Okay, there are several methods, the 50, 30, 20 rule, things like that. However, I feel like the percentage you should give to your financial goals, your savings, your investments, depends highly on your station in life, the situation you find yourself, your financial goals, and your lifestyle. Okay, so it's going to differ for a lot of people. So there shouldn't be any hard and fast rule. However, it is important to use a percentage. Never use just a static amount and say, okay, whatever happens, I'm going to save 10,000 naira, or no, it's better to always use percentages. That way, if you are a freelancer or an entrepreneur and you have inconsistent income, when you use percentage, you'll be able to buffer whatever fluctuations happen in your income. Okay, so 20% of whatever is still 20%, 20% of 100,000, 20% of 500,000, 20% of 10,000. Percentages will always be the best. I'm just going to advise you to start small, okay? Start small. You know your income, okay? You can just start with 20%, start with 10%, okay? The point is that you compound that investment, okay? Compounding effect is very important. So the key is to start small and be consistent, all right? So you might be wondering, how do you now track your expenses using the reverse budgeting method? Okay, so the first important thing is that you should always automate your savings, okay? Automate your savings, because if you say that you are going to remember to save this amount, trust me, it will disappear. Okay, it will disappear as soon as it comes in. Expenses left, right, and center, and before you know it, you have gone expense first, savings last. Okay, so please automate your savings. If you're a salary earner and you get your income, say every 25th of the month, you can automate it to like 26 or 27, so that as soon as that money comes in, is taking off for your savings. How do you can use There are several apps that can help you do that. You can use the piggyvest app. The link is going to be in the description box. There are other apps that you can use that you can automate an amount of money every month, every day, every week, to be removed from your account to your savings. Okay, and that will help you pay yourself first. It's very important. You cannot effectively do reverse budgeting if you don't automate your savings. Okay, automate your savings. Another thing you can do is to create a discretionary expense limit. Create a cap, okay, of how much you want to expend, say, in a month. Okay, so if, say, you're earning 100,000 a month and you have taken off 20% for your savings, it's good to put a cap on your expenses and say that, okay, I'm not going to spend more than social amount this month. Put a cap, okay? And I really um I really suggest that you use a different checking account or a different savings account for your expenses. That way, you'll be able to reroute your money from your salary account. You'll be able to move it to that expense account. For example, 100,000 for your expenses. That way, as you are going through it, you are going to see exactly what is left for you to spend for that month. Do you understand? So, don't, especially if you're starting out, don't just leave your money in one account, just like as you are saying, you think you have money but you don't. Some people do that. They say, oh, you are saving, but what you are saving is in the same account. What you are expending from the same amount. You are doing paying for you are repaying your debts from the same account. That's a recipe for disaster. To be honest, it's best you have multiple accounts for this. And if you are living in Nigeria, that is quite easy to open a savings account. For example, if you're in Nigeria, you're using First Bank for your saving, for your salary account, you can use Zenith Bank for your expenses. Okay, so you just reroute that amount, okay, with that limit you set. Okay, throughout this month, I'm not going to spend more than this amount, and you move it to that account. And as you are going through, it will help you discipline yourself when you set that limit for yourself. Okay, so another thing to do when you do that, another thing that will help is to constantly reflect and assess your spending. Okay, when you remove your expenses or you set that limit for yourself, you'll be able to see when you are going overboard. You'll be able to see that, oh, the month has not gone halfway and you just have what 20% of your expense um money left. It will help you to caution yourself, okay, and assess yourself, and it will help you monitor it, and it will even simplify your monitoring. All right, so for entrepreneurs or freelancers, how do you treat irregular income with reverse budgeting? So first thing I'll say, once again, I said it before, but I'm going to repeat it. The first thing to do is to automate your savings as a percentage of your income. So don't use a particular amount. Don't say every month I'm going to set aside 30,000 naira for my savings. What if that month you earn less than that? The income is less than that. What of the months where you earn a lot more than that? Maybe you are setting out 30,000 because you expect to earn 150,000, and then that particular month was so good and you earn 500,000. Okay, like, or what if you don't earn that 150, you earn something like 50,000 actually. Do you understand? So it's very important for you to automate your savings using a percentage. So that way, 20% will remain 20%. Whether you earn 50,000 naira or you earn 500,000 naira, 20% remains 20%. So that's the first thing that you can do if you earn inconsistent income. The second thing you can do if you earn inconsistent income is to expand your emergency fund. Okay, so the least amount of emergency fund anyone should have is at least 3 to 6 months. However, that is more realistic for a salary earner. If you are earning inconsistent income, okay, it's best to build your emergency fund to contain 6 to 12 months, okay, because depending on how inconsistent your income is, there are months that you can come up with nothing, okay, and that's just the reality of it. And then there are times that you have windfalls, like you have a lot just coming at once. All right, so because of that, you can't afford to have an emergency fund of just 3 to 6 months. No, you have to expand your emergency fund capacity. Okay, also you have to be able to know your peak seasons and when do you have dry seasons. By the time you expand your emergency income, it will act as a buffer during these dry seasons. Okay, you should also base your budget on the lowest monthly income. So if you earn, say, monthly between, say, 100,000 to 300,000, you know there it can be 100,000. So next month it can be 250,000. Next month you can see 1 million. The following month you can see maybe 500, things like that. I suggest that you base your income on the lowest you have received, so that by the time you earn more, it will be an increase. Okay, and the time that you earn less, you'll still be able to manage your budget effectively without coming up broke. Okay, so it's very important that you identify your seasons, the trends, your peak periods and your dry seasons, so that you'll be able to budget to for the peak seasons to cover the dry seasons. And then, like I said, your emergency fund is very important to buffer you through those dry seasons. So what are the common mistakes when you are implementing reverse budgeting? Number one thing is that you budget to save too much too quickly. Okay, I know that you probably have a really large debt to pay, or you have a really high financial goal you want to achieve, but it's counterproductive when knowing your income level, you budget to save too much money too quickly. Please start small. Please start small. Please start small, because the whole point of budget is to discipline you financially so that you don't go broke. Okay, so that you'll be able to manage your finances wisely. Okay, so it's best to be realistic in your budgeting. There are bills to pay, all right, so you can't totally save everything like 90%. How would you live on just 10%? Start small. When you're saving, start small and then go from there. The second mistake that people do is to neglect emergency funds. Okay, whatever type of budgeting you are using, whether traditional budgeting or reverse budgeting, do not neglect emergency funds. Okay, that is very important. Ensure that you have at least 3 to 6 months emergency funds before you focus heavily on other financial goals. Like I said when I started this video, whatever your financial goals are, building your emergency funds should be your top priority. At least have a 3 to 6 months buffer, okay, for emergencies that might crop up, because they will definitely crop up. So a mistake that a lot of people make is to ignore or neglect to build that emergency funds, and then you find out that you now have to find a way to take away from your savings to service some emergency that just came up. And then what if you locked it? For example, maybe you use the piggyvest app and you have locked your savings. You find out that you are stuck, and then you now enter into debt because you neglected to build your emergency fund. Another mistake, a third mistake, is ignoring irregular costs. Now, irregular costs are different from emergency. Okay, irregular costs are things that might not come up every single time. Okay, but they are not really emergencies. For example, car repair. Okay, car repair is not an emergency, to be honest, but it's something that you have to do. Okay, it might not be. It's definitely not like a recurring cost every single time, but once in a while you have to do maintenance, you have to change oil, you have to do things like that once in a while. Okay, so the cost is irregular, but it's definitely there and it's not an emergency. So let's not ignore those things. How do you treat that? You treat that by creating a sync fund. Okay, like I talked about, probably need another checking account just to be putting, maybe like a percentage. Okay, always working up in percentages, maybe 10% every time you put it there, and this will go for repairs, car maintenance, just little repairs around the house, things that come up here and there, not regularly, not recurrent, but they are also not emergencies. It's very important to be able to separate your irregular costs from your emergencies. Another mistake is underestimating your living costs. Okay, now living costs are those expenses. Like I said, we prioritize our financial goals, and then with a balance, we use it for our living costs. Most times, people underestimate their living costs. So let's be realistic when we are assessing, when we are building our budget. Be realistic. If you need to track your expenses for a month prior, so that you'll be able to really know where your money is going and how much you are actually in your current situation, your current lifestyle, how much you're actually spending for living costs. That's very important so that you don't underestimate. Another mistake is lack of automation. Like I said, it's very important when budgeting, whether traditional budgeting or reverse budgeting. Automating your savings is very important. Automating all these things are very important. If you rely on your memory to do that, it's not like you'll forget. No, you'll not forget, but I assure you, more important costs are going to swallow up those funds. Okay, so it's best that you just remove that responsibility from you, automate it, so that as soon as the income comes, it's taken out, and then you have what's left. So, what are your expected results when you have successfully done your reverse budget? How are you going to tell that your budget is effective? The first thing is that you're going to notice an increase in your savings. Increasing your savings and building your emergency fund is the whole thing that makes reverse budgeting better than traditional budget. So for no matter how, depending on your goals, okay, whether you use a short-term goal, you'll be able to see changes for as low as even 3 months. Okay, by the time you met your saving goals, okay, you can literally see your savings growing every month. The second one is you have better financial discipline. That's the whole point of budgeting in the first place. Financial discipline. Impulse spending will be greatly reduced. Okay, you will be able to delay gratification better when you have a working budget, when you can see that you are meeting your financial goals. You'll be able to delay gratification. It will help you with financial discipline, and that is very important. Also, reduce financial stress, especially when emergency comes up. If you are effectively building your emergency funds, when an emergency comes up, you won't find yourself scrambling to meet up. Okay, you have an emergency fund somewhere that you can easily pull from and meet the need. And it's not as if when you take from it, that's all. You are consistently building it, putting into it, okay, and it will meet your needs. So with this, trust me, if you are able to build your reverse budget this way, trust me, you'll notice that you will not be getting broke so bad, okay. And that's the whole point with budgeting, just to be able to help you manage your finances. So give this a try and let me know in the comments below. Have you tried reverse budgeting? What has been your experience with budgeting in general? Have you ever tried to do reverse budgeting, and what was your experience? So please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe if you haven't. Thank you. Bye.